Cell and Dabura, who is stronger? Welcome to the best power scaler on the planet. Just kidding. But we're definitely going to look into this bait in a full scope. And by the way, please subscribe. But in this video, we will be covering statements in the manga, statements in the guidebooks, and Dabura's and Cell's feats that we literally see in the manga and anime to appropriately answer which character is stronger. Without further ado, let's begin. First of all, let's just get this statement from Dragon Ball Manga chapter 450 out of the way. After the Supreme Kai warns against unleashing Buu, Vegeta says, "Humph, the way things are going, this Majin Buu guy isn't going to be anything special, is he? Just like that Dabra jerk. I'm saying that this Dabra guy doesn't seem as bad as you two feared. Looking at his attacks and movements outside earlier, it seems that if we just watch out for a spit, then we should manage something. I can't call Kabito anything but a bumbler for getting done in like that." And Kyle Shin asks Goku, "Is this true, Son Goku?" And Goku's like, "Yeah, well, even if it wasn't him at full force, I think that before he probably would have been a frightening opponent. But 7 years ago, there was a guy named Cell. Dabra's probably about as strong as him." Now with this statement, you might be wondering which Cell was Goku talking about. Perfect Cell or Super Perfect Cell? Well, presumably Goku was able to feel Cell's power from Otherworld, and he also felt the true depth of Gohan's power from before. The chapters to support this are 415 and 416 of the Dragon Ball manga. In chapter 415, after Gohan is injured saving Vegeta and Cell charges up his final Kamehameha, Goku says, "Go strike with an all-out Kamehameha like Cell. If you do that, you'll definitely win." Absolutely. Gohan replies with, "But the way I am now, I could only use one arm and even my ki is already less than half." Goku says, "That's alright, you can win, believe in your own power, show me one last time the power that we created together." Continuing on into chapter 415, after Gohan fires his Kamehameha, Piccolo is saying it's no use, Gohan's ki is weaker after all. But in chapter 416, as the Gohan and Cell Kamehameha clash is happening, Goku says, hang on Gohan, you still ain't putting all of your power yet. Make your power explode." And Gohan's like, "I'm doing it at full force. Any more of this?" And Goku's like, "Somewhere in your mind, you're thinking of the damage to the earth. Don't worry about it. We'll undo the damage with the Dragon Balls." And to add, even in the anime, Goku is confident that Gohan can defeat Cell. So again, it's safe to assume that Goku had a read on Super Perfect Cell's power. Thus, for the sake of this video, we will assume that in manga chapter 450, Goku is saying Dabura and Super Perfect Cell are about the same in power. To prove this, continuing on, another chapter that we need to mention is 455. As Dabra's fighting Gohan, Goku says, "Magic, huh? He's way stronger than I thought, ain't he?" And Vegeta says, "Even so, he's not an opponent that we can't win against. Gohan's so pathetic. So much that he was so much stronger as a brat." And Goku's like, he really did slack off. And it's important to highlight here that, for one, Vegeta agrees with Goku that Dabura is way stronger than originally thought, and they're mostly saying this because of his magic powers and abilities. Regardless, the point of bringing up the dialogue is to cover all bases, but the reality is that Goku and Vegeta, their exposition statements aren't always to be taken as law. And if this was law, that would just mean that Dabura is probably stronger than Super Perfect Cell. But it's not that simple, especially when we start looking at the feats. And let's go ahead and start with the battle between Cell and Super Saiyan 2 Gohan. It goes without saying that Super Saiyan 2 Gohan from the Cell games was a lot stronger than Super Saiyan 2 Gohan from the Buu arc. I think we could all agree to that. Now, when Cell came back after self-destructing and was powering up his Kamehameha, Cell claims to be at solar system level and that he is powered up like Son Gohan. This is stated over manga chapters 413, 414, and 415. Starting in chapter 413, after Cell regenerates from his self-destruction, Cell states, "There's a small clump inside my head. This makes up my nucleus. As long as that clump isn't destroyed, my body can continue regenerating. When I self-destructed, my nucleus fortunately remained uninjured. Quite frankly, I hadn't calculated on being able to regenerate. I was lucky. And even more happily, my body regenerated as my perfect form, even without number 18. And it wasn't merely my perfect form, I had vastly powered up like Son Gohan." This was probably done by the Saiyan cells, which greatly increase in power when they are saved from the brink of death. And I even managed to learn Son Goku's teleportation. So in short, I was able to return here, having become even more perfect. It seems that rather defeat, Son Goku has given me several presents. Continuing on to chapter 414, after getting hit by Cell's attack while Gohan's trying to save Vegeta, Gohan states Cell's power has gone up more than he originally thought. And if we continue on to chapter 415, while they're charging the Kamehameha, Kamehamehas, Cell says, I've already gathered enough ki power to blow away not only the Earth, but the solar system as well. And there's random people shown, even in the manga, saying what's happening, it's an earthquake. So the whole Earth is shaking, right? And it's important to note here that Gohan felt Cell's ki and realized that he was a lot more powerful than he originally thought. And the whole world was shaking from Cell's powering up his ki blast. And also, just because Cell says that he's gathered enough ki to blow up the solar system, that doesn't necessarily mean that he couldn't gather more ki than that. He is just saying that the ki he gathered up to that point of charging the Kamehameha was enough to destroy the solar system. Thus, Cell might have been slightly above solar system level, but regardless, he still wasn't able to defeat Super Saiyan 2 Teen Gohan, and based on what we've seen, Dabura wouldn't be able to either. Not at all. SS2 Gohan from the Cell games would dominate both of them at the same time probably. Now, speaking of Dabura, let's cover his fight with Gohan in the Buu arc. Now, in both the anime and the manga, they're mostly fighting pretty even. The real debate comes from whether or not Gohan was a Super Saiyan or a Super Saiyan 2. And I want to show you statements in the Daizenshuu 2 and 7 so I could actually explain it to you of which form he was in. First of all, in the Daizenshuu 2 story guide, it is referencing high school era Super Saiyan 2. It states, and I quote, during the Tenkaichi Budokai, he transforms at Kibito's request. Because he couldn't gain power from anger and because he hadn't been training, he doesn't have the same battle power as when he defeated Cell. Now, some people believe that this means he couldn't transform into Super Saiyan 2 anymore without getting angry, but this isn't the case at all. First of all, simply put, Gohan goes Super Saiyan 2 against Kibito. We literally see this in the manga and in the anime. Even furthermore, in Daizenshuu 7, in the bio of Dabura, which takes from mostly the manga, but the anime as well a little bit, it is stated that for one, Dabura is the greatest power in the demon realm. Next, it states that he has a battle power equal to Cell's, verbatim is what it says. And last, it states that a fairly even battle unfolded between him and Super Saiyan 2 Gohan, thus proving that the fight between Dabura and Gohan was pretty even. Now, continuing on, we can't really quantify Dabura being the greatest power in the demon realm because it's a completely different dimension, and no power from that dimension, from what we know, has ever been felt by Otherworld or the living world. The only measurement that we can make is that Dabura seems to be on par with Super Saiyan 2 Buu Saga Gohan. I say all this to depict this. Dabura and Cell, in terms of ki and battle power, are at the same level. This is supported by not only the statements of the Daizenshuu, but even in terms of the fights Gohan had with Dabura and Cell. Teen SS2 Gohan was stronger than Super Saiyan 2 Adult Buu Saga Gohan, and was way above Super Perfect Cell, whereas Buu Saga Super Saiyan 2 Gohan was about even with Dabura. So in other words, it's almost like Super Saiyan 2 Gohan, the one that fought Dabura, was about the same strength as Super Perfect Cell, which would make sense because Gohan was kind of struggling with Dabura, and if Teen Gohan were weaker, it would have also been a struggle with Super Perfect Cell, because Cell did in fact gain a Zenkai due to his Saiyan cells. The point of the matter here is that Super Perfect Cell and Dabura are equal in raw ki based on all accounts of statements in the series and in the guidebooks. However, who would actually win this? Let's look over who both of these characters are and their techniques. In Daizenshuu 7, Dabra's character is described as, and I quote, the man who boasts the greatest power in the demon realm, a place said to exist on the opposite side of the universe from where Goku and company live. He had his heart manipulated by Babidi and become his underling. On top of having a battle power equal to Cell's, he is also skilled in magic. After dying, Enma Daiyal, which is King Yama, judged that as a king of the dark of the demon realm, he would be happy in hell, so he sent him to heaven instead. It is also mentioned that while his exact age is unknown, he has lived for over 300 years, so he's got to have some good fighting experience, I would assume. Continuing on, in the same guidebook, Cell is described as having no interest in destruction or slaughter and only desires to fight with strong people. He's a speckled green insect-like life form and is capable of developing through 3 stages by absorbing the other artificial humans. Because he was created from this genetic information of the Earth's major warriors, he's acquired their individual abilities. In his first form, he displays a certain disgusting quality by sucking out people's life energy. Cell was created from the cells of warriors like Goku, Vegeta, Frieza, and Piccolo, along with all of their abilities and their personality traits. Now, to go over their specific techniques and abilities, Cell and Dabura's, I'm just going to go ahead and list them off, and we'll start with Cell. So Cell, he's capable of the Kamehameha, the KO Cannon, the Kienzan, which is the Destructo Disc. He can obviously do Ki Blast, Rapid Fire, do the Death Beam from Frieza. He has Absorption. He could transform. He has Psychokinesis. He has Regeneration. He could also use his tail to attack. He can self-destruct. He could do a Spirit Bomb. He can give birth to Cell Juniors. He can do the Taioken, or the Solar Flare. He can produce a barrier. He can do the Makanko Sampo, and he's also capable of instant transmission. This is a plethora of techniques, and Cell really was the perfect being when created. If he trained, it would be a monstrosity of power, but we're not getting into that right now. But the point is that Cell has tons of techniques at his disposal, especially when compared to Dabura. Now, covering Dabura's techniques, the list is a lot smaller. Dabura is capable of After Image Sorcery, Petrifying Spit, Materialization Magical Arts, and Flames and Flame Bullets. And basically, he has an After Image technique that he's using through his magic. He has his Spit that can turn his enemies into stone, and the only way to get out of that stone is to kill Dabura. He could also materialize magical arts, so he can create a sword out of thin air, out of a rock, and then obviously he has his flames and flame bullets. It is pretty evident that Cell has way more techniques up his sleeve, and it seems like he might win. And you might be saying, yeah, but if Dabura gets his spit on Cell, it's game over. Well, is it though? The reality is that Cell, in theory, could just rip off that piece of his body that's turning to stone and regenerate himself. It's even theoretically possible that Cell would receive another Zenkai boost too if brought that close to death. Here is the answer in the most simplest form. Super Perfect Cell just has way too much techniques up his sleeve, way more than Dabura, and his potential for ki growth is way higher than Dabura's too, due to his Saiyan cells. Dabura might have magical techniques, but there are none besides his spit that are a real threat to Cell. Cell has regeneration, instant teleportation, and techniques like birthing the Cell Juniors and the Solar Flare. All of those techniques, and that's just to name a few, can help Cell get out of a jam if Dabura does land his spit. And also, even just look at it through a different lens, through a different perspective. Dabura and Gohan fought pretty evenly, right? Even though it was a considerable amount, Gohan wasn't dramatically weaker than when he fought Cell. It was considerable, but not insanely weaker. Super Perfect Cell, until Gohan got his Shoki and Yuki correct, was hanging in there with Teen Super Saiyan 2 Gohan. So it could be argued that Super Perfect Cell's ki is even slightly stronger than Dabura, just based on the feat of being able to withstand Gohan's father-son Kamehameha, for the most part at least. Thus, while it would be a very close and interesting fight, Super Perfect Cell is going to get the W over Dabura from me. From Cell's Saiyan cells to the Zenkai abilities to regeneration from Piccolo and multiple techniques including the instant transmission, I just don't see how Cell can't ultimately beat Dabura. Let me know your thoughts in the comments of whether you think I'm right, totally wrong, or missed something. Thank you for watching, and if you can, please subscribe and hit that like button. It really does help me out. It helps out the channel, and I really appreciate the support. No matter what though, never forget, never give up, and always, always keep breaking your limits. See you guys in the next video. Peace!